During the Under-19 World Cup encounter involving Pakistan and Zimbabwe, there was a very, very strange situation that developed. Because going through to the next stage of the Super Sixes, you needed some form of mathematical permutations when you had to look at Zimbabwe and Scotland. Because look at the table. Pakistan, Zimbabwe and Scotland were all, when you look at it at this point in time, they were all very close. If you look at Zimbabwe and Scotland in particular, they were very close. But the mathematical calculations were so weird that Pakistan did something which can be termed as violation of the spirit of the game. Because what happened? You see now that there is Q and Q with England and Pakistan, but with Zimbabwe, it was not so sure. Because what happened here? Pakistan had bundled Zimbabwe out for 128. Now, the equation was simple. If Pakistan had chased a total of 129 inside 25.1 overs, then Zimbabwe were out of the competition. Anything beyond 25.2 and Scotland were out. So, the target for Zimbabwe was 25.2. They had to get them there. But there was a twist even in that. If Pakistan had hit 6 and 4 in 25.4 and 25.5, then Zimbabwe were out and Scotland were in. Look at the change in the NRR, very minimal, just about 0.07. But this is where the twist came. Pakistan deliberately indulged in a slowdown. 11.1, they were going at a very good economy rate of, run rate of close to 5. But then from 11.1 to 26, they deliberately slowed down. They didn't score a boundary for 89 deliveries, and out of that 50 were dot balls, which means 8 maiden overs. That was the thing. After Zimbabwe qualified, because they went to 26, now it was assured that Zimbabwe would not be eliminated. Samir Minhas then hit 2 sixes and Pakistan won the game. Very strange, isn't it, at this point in time? Why would Pakistan deliberately slow down and ensure only one of Scotland or Zimbabwe would go through by this way? Zimbabwe fans were elated because they were through to the knockout stages. But then that drew a firestorm of activity on Twitter because some people were mentioning that Rule 2.11 of the MCC code should be used in this. Because what does 2.11 in the ICC Code of Conduct typically deal with? 2.11 in the ICC Code of Conduct typically deals with attempting to gain an unfair advantage or violating the spirit of cricket. This is what many people are accusing Pakistan of. But understand one thing here. Article 2.11 deals with either deliberately gaining an advantage, which is either through a wide, which is through a deliberate no ball, which is through other things, which is several other factors, but it doesn't take into account mathematical miscalculations. So, how do you take the Pakistan captain to task? You can invoke 2.11, but under what clause was he guilty? He would argue that scoring from 11.1 to 26 became incredibly hard. And that is why we had to go slow. But this is not the first time in a World Cup that this has happened. In 1999, you would remember, in the Australia-West Indies encounter, Australia went about their target of chasing a very slow total of 110 plus. It took them 40 overs. They wanted to eliminate New Zealand out of the competition, but it was not enough. And that is why when you look at these kind of situations, it really, really is very strange. Why did Pakistan go slow? Were they guilty of a slow over? Were they guilty of mathematical miscalculating deliberately? Were they in violation of the spirit of the game? By the way, in the modern era, just to ensure that we are on the same page, there is nothing called the spirit of the game. There is absolutely nothing in that sense. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this video. Subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis.